My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And the purpose of today's video is to give you a market update for what's going on in the Mat-Su Valley. So this continues to be an interesting market to really keep an eye on. Things are starting to change a little bit here. We'll see if that means a shift or not in just a little bit, but let's go and talk about that, looking specifically at the residential, condo, and multifamily market. So before we get started though, if you haven't done so already, do subscribe and do give this video a thumbs up. It really does help a lot of other people to get it on their radar so they can actually see it and enjoy the content as well. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the market update for what's going on in the Mat-Su Valley. The first thing that we're going to check out is what's going on in the residential market, and the first thing we check out for the residential market is what's going on for the inventory. So this is kind of a new thing here for really what we're seeing, because usually around this time of year we've seen this is pretty standard across all the years we've been watching, but inventory tends to start going down once we're looking about the July, August time frame. But for the first time, we're seeing that the inventory has actually gone up from the previous month. So, for example, the previous month we were looking at here for the Mat-Su Valley and residential was roughly about 340. This month, it's about 370. So the inventory has actually started to go up instead of going down. So that's first off, that is definitely an anomaly. We'll talk about why that probably is in the summary. Now, that being said though, let's take a look at the number of units that have actually sold in the market during this time. So we're still seeing a slight uptick from where we were, or how many units, how many properties we actually sold in the market compared to this time last year, but it's just slight. I think it's only about 10 or 20 homes more from what we sold the year before, and that's still above where we were the year before, but it's not nearly as aggressive of a jump of where it was before from what we've seen for all the other months leading up to this point year to date. So yes, the units sold are up, but they're not nearly as high as we would expect just looking at all the other homes, the number of other homes that have sold in this market up to this point in the year. The next thing we need to check out is what's going on as far as the average sold price in the single family properties in the Mat-Su Valley. So not seeing a whole lot of change in this just yet, because this is more of a lag measure. It's something that's going to start getting impacted later than what we're going to see inventory and the units sold. But what we see over here is we're still continuing on a pretty good trend. The average sold price last year for the previous month that we're looking at was roughly about $311,000. This past month, what we're seeing is the average sold price is about $353,000 or so. So average sold price is definitely up. It's just, like I said, it's more of a lag measure though. It's not going to be impacted for a little while yet, but still continues to look pretty good. Let's switch gears a little bit and take a look at what's going on in the condo market. They're not really popular here in the Mat-Su Valley, but let's take a look at it anyway. So first off, what we're seeing for active inventory that's on the market is only about 5 or 6 that are on the market, pretty much in line with what we saw in the previous year. Secondly, let's check and see what's going on as far as the number of condos that have actually sold. So this time last year it was 7, this year 6. Saying pretty much the same, right? The next thing we need to look at is what's going on as far as the average sold price for the condos. So we see the average sold price for the previous month last year about $166,000. This year it's about roughly $220,000. So we do still see a pretty good uptick in the average sold price for condos, so that's promising. Let's take a quick break here real quick. So in addition to the Alaska Realtor YouTube channel, I also do have an Instagram page in which I kind of show what Alaska looks like as I'm training to do some ultra marathon races. I'm kind of through the backcountries and the mountains. So do make sure you go check that out. Link for that is going to be in the description down below. And certainly feel free to engage with me there. I usually will go for some kind of a long run about once a week, usually through the mountains if I can pull away for that long. But go check that out. And without further ado, let's go and finish today's market update, looking at what's going on in the multifamily sector in the Mat-Su Valley. Now, looking at what's going on for the inventory in the Mat-Su Valley for multifamilies, as we see the previous year, we were at about 48 properties that were out there. And keep in mind that includes everything from the little duplex all the way up to the big commercial property. So it includes everything in there. But what we're seeing is the inventory was roughly about 48 properties were available in the market this time last year. Now 26. So, definitely still seeing a pretty good cut as far as the multifamily properties in the Mat-Su Valley. Now let's take a look and see what's going on for the units sold. So just looking at the properties that have sold in the Mat-Su Valley for multifamilies, it went from 9 the year before to 11 this year. So not a huge shift either way. Across the board, we did sell more multifamily properties last year or this year than the year before. So that's not a huge surprise, and I wouldn't necessarily expect to just see that spiking up like crazy. So that's about what we would expect. Lastly, let's talk about what's going on as far as the average sold price for properties that are multifamily. So it went from roughly about $490,000, took a cut down to about the $450, $460 range. So at least for the previous month. So what we're seeing is the average sold price for multifamilies is just all over the place. Looking at the average sold price for multifamilies is usually not useful until you really start taking it more on a macro level, looking at like the entire year to date, or looking at a couple years worth of data, preferably 5+ years worth of data if I get my hands on it, showing what it's doing to really get an accurate picture, just because it does encompass so much. If we're looking at, because it does encompass everything from the little duplex all the way up to like the enormous 50-plex commercial apartment complex. So that's just going to be the name of the game. So let's go ahead and jump into the summary now. So on the residential side, we've said this is going to be coming for quite a while. I don't think this is like a huge shift to where everyone's just going to suddenly get jolted and boom, we're going to be in a buyer's market. That's just not going to happen. But for the first time, we are seeing inventory is starting to creep up. So it's been a very strong seller's market up till now. Now things are starting to slowly shift back into a balanced market. And that's good. We do not want a strong seller's market for too long, because that's how you get markets like California and other places to where there's just a slight hiccup in the market and suddenly everybody's upside down. So we don't want a strong seller's market for too long. That being said, though, if you are a seller, this is still a great time to sell, just evidenced by the fact that the average sold price is up. You just have to be aware the market is starting to shift. So the crazy prices and all the multiple offer deals that your neighbor might have gotten just a couple months ago might not be the reality anymore. These things come and go. It's not just something the real estate agents say to try to get in the door. Legitimately, sometimes you can have a big difference between a couple months here. So if you're still looking to sell, good time to do it. You're still looking to buy, interest rates are low. Just make sure you don't lose your shirt and you're cognizant of what's going on in the market. And if you have any questions in either one of those, do make sure you reach out to me. Be happy to see how I can help. Now, looking at the condos, it's staying pretty steady. Not a whole lot of movement there either way. Average sold price obviously is changing with having such a small sample size. That really can have more to do with the properties that were sold during that time. As far as the multifamilies, the big takeaway for me looking at this is that there's still a pretty good demand for multifamily properties in the Mat-Su Valley, and I think the lack of inventory is really an indication that not a whole lot of property owners want to let their investment properties go when the rents are so high right now, because we're seeing a lot of people are looking for rental properties, and a lot of people are also looking for properties to buy. And the reason that the rents are going up is obviously, cost of everything is going up. And so as a result, we are going to see higher rentals as a result. That's just how the economy works. So I sure hope this has been useful. If you have questions you need to ask me directly, like how I can help you with either buying a house or selling a house, do reach out to me on my Facebook page or through my website. Both of those are going to be down below. and be happy to assist as best I can. And thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next week.